Ladies and gentlemen, Fred Okengo Matiang'I is actually hitting back at the government of President William Samoei Arap Ruto without any fear. And what Fred Okengo Matiang'I is actually trying to tell the Kenyans is that we do not need a broad-based government. For the government of Kenya to deliver to the people of this nation. He has also hit back at the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, who are actually trying to say that we should have a dialogue so that we can solve the issues that Kenya is facing. From the time of the Gen Zs, it was very clear with the Gen Zs that what the Gen Zs wanted, the government of William Samoei Arap Ruto actually to do was that William Samoei Arap Ruto must actually appoint people with competency to work for the people of this nation. And the Gen Zs never wanted to have any kind of dialogue with President William Samoei Arap Ruto, but they only requested the government to over what we call leadership, to over service, as they promised the people of this nation. They actually wanted the government to deal with impunity. But it looks like the government of this nation doesn't want to listen what the Gen Zs is trying to talk about. And that is why Fred Okengo Matiang'I, who is the presidential aspirant, is hitting hard at the government of William Samoei Arap Ruto. And Fred Okengo Matiang'I did this during his recent interview. I would like you to listen what Fred Okengo Matiang'I had to tell the Kenyans. Please listen to this.
Of representation. Sasa hawa viongozi wote katika hizi ngazi zote hawachasikiza wananchi watatue matatizo. Tuanze tena mzunguko mwingine. Tulifanya bombers 1, bombers 2, bombers what, bombers everything. And then we go look for another 200, 400 people wakulipo allowances, wakukaa Naivasha, kwenda Nakuru, kwenda Kisumu, kwenda Mombasa, tunajifanya tunaokota of views za wananchi. I mean, these things are there. The law is clear, the constitution is very clear. Why can't we get some work done? What the Gen Z are asking and what Kenyans are asking are straightforward questions. Do you need a council to resolve those issues? Wakati ilifanyika in 2024, sarakazi imepigwa hapo ni kama kucheza kamari. Cabinet imebadilishwa sijui mara ngapi, mawaziri wengine around their third assignment since the Gen Z demonstrations of 2024. So hiyo kamari inaendelea kuchezwa namna hiyo. Then tuanza another new kamari sasa ya mzunguko, tuzungumuze kitambo, you know it, tumefika tena another electoral cycle. Then tuanze tena wimbo mwingine mpya and so on. And the problems are there.
So mheshimiwa, iwapo Rais Ruto atakuita kwa mazungumzo ya kuokoa nchi, inamaanisha hutaenda?
Atahitaji nini kutoka kwangu? What will he need from me? What will I tell him that he cannot hear from the people in the streets? What can I tell him that he is not hearing from the Gen Z? Unajua hiyo ndio zamani kujifanya. What's new? Anaenda kusikiza nini? Look, let me give you an example. 2 weeks ago, we went to Kenyatta National Hospital to see people who had been hurt during the demonstrations, 25th of June.
Yes.
We went to that ward. There were 17 people admitted there with gunshot wounds across the board. Listen to me very carefully. Those people came from so many communities across the country. I did not see people from one community in that ward. When we came downstairs, I was with Kalonzo and Wamalwa. I left that hospital that day with 70 pieces of paper. I don't know how many Kalonzo left with or how many Wamalwa left with 70 pieces of paper. Somebody walks up to me and tells me, Mheshimiwa, mimi nimekuwa hapa tangu jana, nimeambiwa nilipe 43,000, SHA inaweza lipa 13 or whatever the case was. So sasa natafuta 30,000. Mwingine, unajua nimekuwa hapa, sijui mtoto anahitaji kufanyiwa nini, I'm supposed to pay 73,000, SHA italipa 20, nahitaji kulipa. Last weekend, in a restaurant here in Ngara, I just walked into some place, and then a waiter walks up to me and tells me, unajua hii tuna shida, this SHA is not working. My mother, she was admitted in some hospital here in Ngara. Those are stories you hear from around the country. Gatonye, am I the only one who hears those stories? These leaders are living amongst us. They walk around, they hear these stories. So, do you need a committee to tell you those? Because those are the issues that need to be solved. Do we need to have a meeting, tuende tukae kwa mahoteli, sasa huko tuanze safari park, tena tusome maspeech, tuanze sasa drama mpya, now will be addressed by I don't know who, then another person, speeches, the whole morning is speeches. Then after that, do you need those things to solve the problems that we are facing? Alafu tutoke hapo tuende Mombasa, tupande mandege sisi wote, tupeleke magari ya serikali huko na madereva na maaskari, tunapigiwa masalute huko. Sasa tumeenda conference mpya huko kutafuta solution. Kutoka hapo tuende Naivasha, kutoka hapo. Do you need all those kinds of things to solve the problems? It's straightforward. It's looking at us. I speak to school principals, obviously, because I'm a former minister of education, and I've kept friendships with many of them. Many teachers, because they are my colleagues, I'm a trained teacher. Some of these guys were my classmates in KU. Ninaongeanga na hawa watu kila wakati. I meet parents every day in my life. No capitation in schools. Some principals tell you, the last time I received 160,000 or whatever it is, I have debts up to the sky. Some of them cannot tell you what's going to happen. Ukiuliza an average parent, the limit we had kept wakati was saying, parents should not be pushed with this burden of school fees and so on. Wanakueleza, ukiuliza watu wengine, even in the private school sector, they won't tell you how much money they're supposed to raise to pay for exams, as it were. We had removed the examination fees completely, because as you know, nikueleze Gatonye, when you ask for examination fees, first of all, it is an inclusion issue. There are people who are not going to be able to pay exams, which means they will drop out. We are beginning to see again in cases like those. We had worked on 100% transition. The simple and common sense reason why we removed the examination fees is because that is how you ensure inclusion. Everyone can do exams, everyone participates in the process. So it's a participation issue. It's a wastage issue. Mtu ameenda shule, amefika wakati wa kufanya exam, hawezi kufanya exam, anatoka. I meet university students. I meet parents who have kids in universities. Wanasema, yesterday I was in a social function and somebody walks up to me and tells me, my nephew, I'll put a help approval in November. We are in July.
After listening to that, you can agree with Fred Okengo Matiang'I that Kenya Kwanza government is actually not doing what it is expected. Kenya Kwanza government has never listened to the Gen Zs. Kenya government is not offering services to the Kenyans. And Fred Okengo Matiang'I has actually given several examples that why is there delay in giving money to the education sector so that it can perform very well. Why is it that we are going to remove helping students to pay exam fee so that they can start paying back what the government used to pay? Because it is quite in order for the government to pay for the exams so that education in this nation can be equal equalized all over, so that no child born in this nation is actually going to suffer because of payment of exam money. Why can't the government disperse money to the education sector in advance so that principals in various schools can actually do or use that money to offer the best education to the students of this nation? And also Fred Okengo Matiang'I has also came out clearly that the so-called SHA is not really working. And all those things which are actually not working, we don't need to have dialogue. We only need to implement them. And that is why he has refused that if the government of the day will actually call for dialogue, he cannot actually be able to attend that dialogue, because he has said that nothing is hidden. The government of the day knows very well how to deliver what it promised the people of Kenya. There is nothing that people will gather together to dialogue about. And Fred Okengo Matiang'I of late is actually doing that. Fearless is actually telling the government the truth that we cannot be called to have a dialogue so that we can correct the mistakes that actually is for deviling our nation. We understand. We have been having dialogue after dialogue, using the Kenyan taxpayer for no good reason. And that is actually very true. Why should people be called to forums so that they can form committees, they can stay in hotels, they can be paid by the government to search for answers which already are known? Because if it is about education, it is actually very clear what should be done. If it is about healthcare, it is outside there clearly what should be done. And those issues, they don't need any kind of dialogue. And that is why Fred Okengo Matiang'I has told the government that what they need to hear is the call of the Gen Zs, is what the Gen Zs were asking. Because the Gen Zs have always asked for good leadership. They have always asked that we need a government which delivers. And the Gen Zs don't want to have any kind of dialogue because they don't see any reason for having those dialogue. Because in this nation, you will find that the government of the day has always been pretending that we need a dialogue, but just to waste time instead of doing what it ought to do to deliver to the people of this nation. So Fred Okengo Matiang'I is actually hitting at this government of William Samoei Arap Ruto. And as you know, this Fred Okengo Matiang'I is a no-nonsense person. He always tells the government the truth. And the government of the day, which is actually being led by William Samoei Arap Ruto, it needs to open and hear the cry of the Kenyans. It needs to open and hear the cry of the youths of this nation and do what they are expected to do. Do you think what Fredo Kengo Matiang'I is actually telling the government is the right thing? Or do you think the dialogue which Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga is trying to propose is the best way forward? Please drop your comment in the comment section below. And if this is your first time to bump into this YouTube channel, I request you kindly to take a minute and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Give this video a like, share the video to your friends, and if your friends are lovers of politics, then it's good to request them to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And whenever you subscribe to our YouTube channel, always make sure to smash the bell button. And with that, I say thank you until we meet in our next political conversation.